Welcome back, dear viewers of SCP Explained. We hope you've been keeping well, and we also hope that your health insurance covers blown minds. Because today, we're using our trademark Anomatron 6000 to pit an anomalous legend against another Marvel legend. That's right, it's SCP-682 versus Dr. Michael Morbius, of the 2022 cinematic masterpiece, Morbius. Of course, there is one issue that we should share with you before we begin. We haven't actually seen Morbius. However, here's the wonderful thing, statistically, you haven't either. In fact, we tried to get the Anomatron 6000 to process Morbius as raw data for the simulation, but our antivirus software kept stopping it. Intriguing. So instead, we simply hit randomized traits on the Anomatron, so its free-to-use advanced AI could conceive what Morbius is like, and what his abilities probably are. And as far as you or I know, it might even be correct. So let's get this show on the road, and see if the hard to destroy reptile could hone against its own as cinema's most tragically memed upon superhero. Prepare for perhaps the most absurd and ridiculous video, with the exception of the Among Us video, that we've ever released on here. In other words, it's Morbin time. It began as many bizarre SCP Foundation stories do, with SCP-682 cracking the glass of its acid tank and preparing to spill chaos and terror onto Site-19. For most people, even seeing actual footage of this would be a life-defining traumatic incident. For most seasoned Foundation researchers, it was just another Sunday. When 682 busted through the nearest wall like a psychopathic reptilian Kool-Aid man, while guards engaged in the futile task of trying to subdue it with small arms fire, the senior researchers languidly made their way to the nearest secure panic room and hunkered down. As was standard protocol for SCP-682 escapes, all available mobile task force units would be dispatched, single-mindedly focused on cutting the lizard back down to size. But the problem was, this wasn't just any other Sunday. It was Super Bowl Sunday. And seeing as most mobile task force operatives are incredibly tough and manly, they generally love football and promised they'd definitely come and take down 682 as soon as the game was over. This would be one thing if SCP-682 was content to just terrorize the usual denizens of Site-19 today, but no. It'd been a while since the hard-to-destroy reptile had tasted civilian flesh, and he intended to rectify that toot sweet. In a state of murderous fury, 682 barged through wall after wall with the effort that a normal human might walk through rice paper. Soon enough, it was free from the drab gray walls of the containment site, and feeling the sun on its scales once more. Such a lovely day out, with the distant sound of people laughing and chatting, and children playing happily with their pets. 682 predictably found this disgusting and resolved to destroy them all. And with all those mobile task force operatives swigging beer, eating peanuts, and giggling at amusing celebrity cameos in Super Bowl halftime ads, there would be nobody who would stop 682 from completing its dastardly task. Except, of course, one man, Dr. Michael Morbius. While 682 was escaping, Morbius was sitting on the deck of his private yacht, drinking a martini glass full of 2% milk, because Morbius understands the importance of having healthy bones. He was listening to a fantastic podcast about the curative powers of beef jerky, when high above the SCP Foundation activated the Morb signal, a Batman-esque light shining up in the sky in the shape of a clown. This was bad. Morbius paused his podcast and prepared himself, finishing the last of his milk and washing out the glass so it didn't get smelly. He raised his arm and summoned the Morb Orb, a glowing red ball that seemed to be the source of his powers according to a number of internet memes. He clutched the orb, feeling its power flow through him as he made a small prayer to his guardian deity, the late David Bowie. And with that, he took flight, twin jets of fire blasting out of his shoes like rocket ships. He could only hope that he'd be able to intercept SCP-682 before it was too late. Meanwhile, SCP-682 was indulging in one of his favorite hobbies, just killing lots of people. He'd invaded the American city of San Francisco, New York, which was known for being the biggest population of people within the proximity of Site-19. 682 was truly rampaging. He knocked the ice cream cones out of children's hands, causing them to weep profusely. He literally kicked dogs, and he also murdered a number of adults with his vicious fangs and claws. The local police attempted to stop him, but they were hopelessly outmatched. They attempted to cuff the monster several times, only to find out that by the time they were halfway through trying to read the beast its Miranda rights, it would break free and rampage yet again. All in all, 682 was having a grand old time, and was delighted that nobody was coming to stop its rampage of utter devastation. It seemed almost as though the rampage would never end, until a dark shadow fell over the ravenous reptilian monster. It turned up its head to see a new foe floating above it. Was it a bird? Was it a plane? No, it was Dr. Michael Morbius, of course, wielding his trademark flaming trident of justice.
Another lamb to the slaughter.
682 growled.
Are you ready to meet your end?
Morbius laughed and shook his head. I don't know who you are, you scaly monster, but for hurting all these innocent people, you're about to get morbed on. And with that, he threw his flaming trident at the reptile, striking brave and true. But it wasn't enough. 682 had developed incredibly strong reflexes after years of the Foundation's attempts on its life, so Morbius would need to try a lot harder than just using his classic beloved trident to end this fight. Even then, before Morbius had a chance to think up another method of attack, 682 had adapted and switched to the offense. Two great dragon-like leathery wings unfurled on the monster's back, and it took to the air, lunging towards Morbius with fangs borne and claws at the ready. Before Morbius knew it, the creature's jaws were ready to close around his head. Thankfully, at this moment, another one of Morbius's classic superpowers comes into play, his short-range teleportation abilities. In a moment of reflex that would impress 682, Morbius teleported out of the monster's path, remanifesting instantly, floating a few feet away. 682 growled in irritation.
Of course it would never be so easy,
it said.
The Foundation always sends one of its freaks to distract me. You may think you're strong, but really, you're just another puppet.
I've never heard of this Foundation, Morbius quipped back. And I'm not your standard hero either. I really blur the line between hero and villain entirely. In fact, before Morbius could finish explaining what a complex character he was, if you could even use that word, 682 flew after him again. This time, however, Morbius was ready. He lifted up his arms and unleashed another one of his patented attacks, opening up human mouths in the palms of his hands, which unleashed miniature, yet still extremely powerful, air-to-air missiles. The missiles blasted out and struck 682, causing an impressive explosion. But 682 was well versed in explosions. It kept flying after Morbius. He needed to get out of here fast, or he'd become a lizard's lunch. Morbius turned and flew in the opposite direction, the hard-to-destroy reptile hot on his heels. The first step, of course, would be to get away from populated areas to limit collateral damage. No matter what happened, Morbius refused to let this mysterious entity harm more people.
You cannot run forever,
682 growled.
Your wretched life will be brought to a slow and painful end, stranger.
They were passing over the water now, flying at quantum speeds, watching the Pacific Ocean whiz past beneath them. That's when Morbius noticed it and had an epiphany. A volcano, and by the looks of the smoke rising above it, an active one too. Morbius had a plan now, but to execute it, he'd need perfect speed and timing. He stopped in midair as the beast flew towards him, but moments before 682 could make contact, Morbius grabbed it, executing a perfect mid-air suplex, and tossed the roaring beast directly down into the volcano below. For any other monster, this would be the end of it. But for 682, a double, triple, or even quadruple tap was often required to reliably incapacitate it. Morbius's work was not done. He flew down towards the volcano, ready to engage in the next hectic stage of battle. Bet you're not feeling so cocky now, you nasty reptile, Morbius yelled. But the reptile in question was too busy flailing around in impossibly hot magma to reply at the time. Such is the way when falling into an active volcano. SCP-682, burnt and charred, but still alive, began to crawl from the top of the volcano, wheezing out smoke and ash. How could such a strange, confusing creature have been such a formidable opponent? No matter. It will destroy this Morbius. It might just take a little longer than expected. Little did the unfortunate reptile know, Morbius was preparing his next weapon, perfect for immobilizing this ornery monster. An 8-ball in a gym sock, forming a kind of dangerous makeshift flail. It was the kind of lethal improvised weapon that would strike fear into even the strongest of enemy combatants. And now SCP-682 would learn to fear its power. As the flame-broiled reptile began to stand, perhaps preparing to adapt to its latest set of injuries, Morbius began relentlessly beating the hard-to-destroy reptile with the 8-ball sock, dazing it with repeated brutal strikes that never seemed to stop. Morbius had learned this technique from years of being involved in vicious bar fights, normally caused by him cheating at darts. "This can stop any time you want," Morbius yelled. "You just need to stop getting back up." Initially, 682 wanted to remain defiant, but even it could not deny that being struck again and again by the 8-ball sock was actually extremely painful. Was it really worth the fight? After performing some quick mental calculations, SCP-682 determined that no, it probably wasn't. Time to throw in the towel.
Okay,
682 said, mostly just annoyed at this point.
I'll stop rampaging. Honestly, you just took all the fun out of it.
682 just sighed and laid on the ground, exhausted, slowly regenerating from its injuries. Morbius smiled, content with his victory. Who knows how many people he'd saved by luring this creature away from a population center. By this point, the Super Bowl was over, and the legions of Mobile Task Force operatives who technically should have done this hours ago finally decided to suit up and take care of business. It didn't take long for black tactical helicopters full of Foundation soldiers to triangulate the location of the volcano, where the end of 682 and Morbius's epic battle had taken place. It wasn't long after that there were copious Foundation boots on the ground. This story, of course, has a happy ending. Mobile Task Force agents successfully recaptured SCP-682 and returned it to its containment cell in Site-19. And in the process of recovery, they mistook Dr. Michael Morbius for the actor Jared Leto and shot him roughly 30 times in the chest with armor-piercing rounds, killing him instantly. Want an anomaly of your own? Check out www.scpswag.com for high-quality SCP merch. Now go and check out SCP-096 vs. Siren Head, and SCP-076 Abel vs. Chainsaw Man, who has the most lethal weapon, for more wild versus battles.